There is a petition going around for what everyone's referring to as Mica's Law. Would you be shocked to know that that very law has already been drafted and has been sitting in the General Assembly and the Judiciary Committee, both in the House of Representatives and the Senate? Don't get too happy. It's been sitting there since February the 2nd of 2020. Now I'm mad. Are you mad? I'm mad. This bill lays out types of behavior to look for. Now, I don't know if you saw or you remembered, but there was an interview that was done of me that said, hey, do you think, what do you think about the police and what they did? Well, here's what I think. I think the police didn't have anything to look to. They show up, they look for bruises. They look for black eyes. They look for scratches. They look for those types of things. And not seeing any, no crime here. The first thing that a coercive control abuser does is take away your money, take away your transportation, and your way of communication. Someone placing you in fear, raising my hand, my fist to you, you're afraid I'm going to hit you. That's an assault. Usually what happens after an assault is the battery, where the hand or the fist comes down. Assault doesn't leave bruises, but it sure does on the psyche of the person who's experiencing it.
That was a press conference held on the 5th of June for Mica Miller. Mica Miller died on April 27th of 2024. They say suicide. I still don't know what to believe. We've got her ex-husband, John Paul Miller, who's running around as Spider-Man in his front yard, dating chicks, which is sadly not new since he's widowed. In fact, it's exactly what he was doing before her death. Sad day when you point out how low somebody like JP goes and you're like, oh, that's a lifestyle. He's not grieving. He's just doing what he's always done. Facts. Now this is his words. I haven't grieved. That's what he told us on a recent interview. And these are allegations that were placed on an affidavit filed by his ex-wife, Allison Williams, recently, at the end of May 2024. So there was a press conference held on June 5th. I didn't post the entire thing here because my goal is to insinuate my thoughts in with whatever facts come out. So the link for that full conference is below. Right before the conference, I watched a very good detailed interview from Anna Francis, one of Mica's siblings. In this interview, Anna said that Mica had been getting her legal affairs in order to leave her abusive pastor husband, John Paul Miller, in hopes to live a very good, better, and healthier life. She was kind of at rock bottom at this point. Money had been donated to her in order to pay her attorney retainer from a member of the church, allegedly $5,000. Mica had set herself up to share an apartment with an older woman of 85 years old who was actually kicked out of the church for helping give Mica a home. She was borrowing a car, she got herself work and hospitality, but very importantly, Mica was telling 15 people, including her other sibling, Sierra Francis, that if something bad happens to me, it was JP, her abusive, controlling husband. Mica really knew JP, which is so ironic that people in the church turn around and say, well, we really knew her, we knew Mica. But when this tragedy happened, nobody had much to say. Now we're gonna get into that in a minute. But she knew JP, and she was very specific about what would happen to her if it were him that did it. And that was, if a bullet is put in my head, it was him. I don't know what more information we need to realize that she voiced that alive. And now she's dead, exactly how she said she would go out if he did something to her. I'm not sure what else we need to know to stay woke here about this case. I mean, what more can I do to keep her voice loud and clear about that? Everything, in my opinion, points right at it. He should win the Hall of Fame for evil. His record for being violent outside of a lover. Ran over a woman, once had his firearms taken. His criminal allegations in his first marriage. He was on schizophrenia medication. Mica started gathering evidence in case something bad happened to her. And I plead for you to ask yourself, why would somebody who's sick do that? If she was sick, why would she do that? There is no framing John Paul Miller. I saw the abuse for myself, and I saw it the other way around. And he just kept getting away with it because he was so powerful, allegedly, out there. He was so powerful and manipulative. People were in his corner, and there was nothing Mica could do other than what she was already doing, and she did everything right. My thing is guilty until proven innocent. I'm not saying he killed her. I'm saying I don't think that she did that right now to herself. I am saying that I agree with Regina Ward that J.P. Miller is guilty of coercive control. The issue is that there was no law in place to protect her from it. Regina Ward, the legal representative for the family of Mica Miller, addressed the media during a press briefing held on Wednesday to discuss the latest developments concerning Mica's assets and to introduce a new legislation known as Mica's Law. On May 2nd, Sierra Francis, Mica's sister, submitted an application legally to become the special administrator of Mica's estate, just days after her passing. Mica's belongings, such as her phone, her purse, and her vehicle, are still in the possession of the Robeson County Sheriff's Office. Those possessions will be turned over to Regina Ward's office once the investigation is over. Now, they say that JP can access what's in there as much as the Francis family can. He agreed to this. He agreed that, this could go to their attorney's side. How tight is he out there with Ellie is my question. Because we all want to know what comes of the items. What was in the purse? What's in her phone? Now, Mica was driving a borrowed car, and that car is rightfully so going to be returned to the owner. There was also a mutual restraint put in place that nothing considered a marital asset would be sold or disposed of. However, it's said that there was a big fire going in JP's backyard before Mica died. My resource for that is JLR Investigates, and he placed some proof of text where it all kind of ties in together. It makes you wonder, what was he burning in his backyard before she passed? JLR Investigates ended up saying, neighbor tells me the fire department was at Pastor John Paul Miller's home 2 times right before Mica died. Claims the pastor was burning something in his backyard. Before she died, her family said he stole a bunch of her evidence from her house while he had her locked in the hospital. And he's talking about the incident from February 8th through the 10th of 2024. The individual, I assume a neighbor, says yes, right before. So it's like, what he destroyed, if he was destroying anything that belonged to Mica, we'll never know that now. But, what's in her phone? The focus of Wednesday's press event was to introduce Mica's Law, also known to be Coercive Control Law. Regina Ward claimed the Coercive Control Bill has been sitting on the state legislature's Judiciary Committee since 2020. And had they had this bill passed, Mica could have pressed charges a lot faster. Now, we have this bill passed out here in California, and I actually only know that because Regina Ward said so in this conference. Nobody told me about this. It's called Senate Bill 1141. This behavior of coercive control includes isolating the victim from friends, relatives, or other support, depriving the victim of basic necessities, controlling the victim's communications, daily behavior, finances, economic resources, and many other behaviors that cause severe emotional distress. Passed out here in California back in 2020, when victims were trapped in their homes with abusers. The Hotline.org reported that in year 2020, 64% of people reported in for physical abuse. Emotional and verbal abuse hit a whopping 96%. 1%. Now, those statistics are not just California to my knowledge. That was, overall, which means guess what? This bill needs to pass outside of California too. Case in point, it was not passed out in the Carolinas. Had it been, his ass would have been grass long before April 27th, when Mica was found deceased. See, he knew that he could play these mind games and drive her nuts and get away with it. He always got away with everything. Now, Regina Ward compiled what she called Mica's list, which are allegations taken from Mica's verbal story, journals, and writings that she left behind. I read the list. Just when you think you've seen it all. Expressing worthlessness. JP told her she was lazy and mentally unwell and that her breasts were too small, that her family was arrogant and they used her, and that she was not a good Christian woman if she questioned him or did not submit to him or keep his dark secrets. Humiliated, degraded, and dehumanized her. JP forced her to submit to humiliating sexual acts that disgusted and hurt her. He would tell her she was mentally ill and have her hospitalized. He put her down for having ideas or getting inspired by outside influences, telling her or others that she fell for anything, also known to be not smart. JP uploaded a semi-nude photo of his wife to the internet and later apologized in an email and attempted to minimize the damage by stating it was only up for an hour. Prevented disclosure to authorities. When Mica would threaten to expose JP, he would ramp up his abuse and tell her that if she did, then she was not a Christian woman, was not a dutiful wife, that she was acting like the judge, and only God is the judge, and that she was required by the Bible to protect him and not disclose what he did to her. In fact, according to JP, the Bible says she is supposed to forgive him for his abuse, and as a dutiful wife is to obey her husband, also known to be tolerate his abuse, and if she did not, she was sinning. Financial abuse. JP removed her from bank accounts and told her that she did not know how to manage money, but required her to pay her own car payment, car insurance, and medical bills. Threats to hurt her, her family, or himself. If she hinted of exposing JP's abuse, he threatened to commit suicide or that he would jump off a bridge. He also made similar threats if she said that she wanted to leave or divorce him, or if she refused to return to him after he threw her out. He threatened her family with gun violence. JP threatened to divorce her if she did not obey him and if she did not take the pills he gave her. Threats to reveal or publish private information. JP would make videos of her in private settings and then threaten to upload them if she did not do what he wanted. He convinced her to send him a topless picture meant for only his eyes as her husband, and he uploaded it to the internet when she did not comply with his demands. Assault. JP kept many guns and knives in their home. He punched holes in the walls during his fits of rage, and he said he was on the way, armed and ready. We talked about this when he did that in 2022 to her sister, when he demanded that she leave her sisters and come home. JP kept her in a constant state of panic and fear that she would do something to trigger him. Rape. While she was hospitalized, JP demanded that she have sex with him while she lay in the hospital bed. JP forced her to perform sexual acts against her will and demanded that she watch him in sexual acts with others and forced her to sit still so others could touch her body against her will. JP told her and preached on Sunday that if she did not submit to his every request for sex in any manner he desired, then it was her fault if he got his needs fulfilled by another woman or man. Preventing her from having transportation. JP slashed a total of 5 of her car tires. He inserted razors in her tires, potential to cause her to wreck. JP took her vehicle that was titled in her name and paid for solely by her and hid it from her. In order to be able to get to work, she was forced to buy a second vehicle, thus giving her 2 car payments and insurance costs. JP took her purse, driver's license, and her car keys to prevent her from leaving the home. Interfering with her work. When she worked at the church, JP would randomly fire her for disobeying him, and then he would hire her back if she agreed to certain sexual acts or some list of demands. He allowed or wrote letters to her on church letterhead demeaning her and putting her down. She had to leave the job that she really loved, the church, and take a job in the restaurant industry. This guy is like a total, absolute lunatic when it comes to his sexual drive. I mean, control, I think, is what turns him on. And a total addict at it too, because, I mean, it didn't stop with any age group, any gender, any situation. There was just no boundary with this guy. It was just all promises. I will change. I will go get help. But I don't think that guy ever meant a damn word he said. For the press conference, it said that JP was in his DeLorean car with another woman. There's this big thing about the DeLorean car going around, and I'm like, that thing is frumpy. I don't care if there were 3 of them left on planet Earth. Ugly. But he thinks it's cool and it's attention, right? So like he's putting another chick in the car and he's all cruising around in this, little beater car just because it has the rapport of being close to none made. Ugh. Anyway, it's kind of old news at this point that he's with another woman. I mean, I'll continue to report it, but it's really just kind of like this dirty rabbit hole, There's not much to see here. He's just an addict doing what he loves to do. Doing what it takes to get attention. Any attention is good attention for this guy. Another report that hit the web was that Reverend Randall, he was asked to say something by the YouTuber JLR Investigates, who was out there attending the press conference. He spoke to not speak, essentially. All he said was, I knew Mica. I'm not talking about it. God's got it handled. And he told JLR Investigates that he did one interview with, I guess, the New York Post or the New York Times, one of those. JLR's like, where can I find that? And he's like, you gotta look it up. It's a mystery to find the voice of Reverend Randall.
We welcome you to a celebration of life for my little girl. I call her Sister Miller on today.
Now, if you don't know this, Reverend Randall is the guy who works with the church, and he did Mica dirty. I heard this from a resource within her family. It's actually a public comment, and I actually promised the resource that I would set the record straight. And since it's come up that this is new news, yet something I already knew because it was a public comment, I just want to read what the resource had to say. So the resource says, when she was talking nice to him, I shouldn't have left you and all that kind of stuff. The resource is referring to that voicemail a few content videos back that I released where she called him up, her husband JP, and said, I'm sorry, I love you, I shouldn't have left you.
Should have left you. I never should have abandoned you when you were trying to work things out. I never should have put anybody else before you.
I can't find my marriage license to you. I don't really know what's going on. I'm really not trying to hurt you. And everybody kind of assumed that wasn't a real voicemail. Well, it was a real voicemail. This is what the resource is saying. So when she left that voicemail, she was in the middle of trying to get him to bring her meds to a location outside of Horry County. Knowing JP, right? Well, he was not cooperating because he had the 72-hour pickup order in place. So she was trying to play nice, hoping that he would meet her, and he denied her. So this Reverend Randall guy, the one we're talking about, said that he would bring them to her. She went to a location and the cops then took her into custody. So in my opinion, until he's got something to say, this Reverend Randall guy, I can't be for this guy. If he can't acknowledge that she was a victim of abuse at the hands of the pastor of the church that this guy, Reverend Randall, stands for, but he incorporates, I'm not going to talk about Mica, I just know God in that conversation, if he's saying that, even with all the proof that the public has seen about how Pastor JP talked down to Mica, then that says a lot about Reverend Randall, right? Then I can't be for that. Unfortunately, it just appears that he's just another flying monkey until he's ready to set the record straight. And that's on him. All these people that are, oh, well, he had no one to eat with. My name's Susie. I was out with him. Yeah, I can't feel sorry for you, okay? I've seen the affidavits and I'm well aware of your reputation, Susie Skinner. Reverend Randall, I've heard about you and what you did, okay? It would probably be in your best interest just to say what you know, okay? Going silent at a time like this, it's not courage. It's what I call being a coward. That's it today, loved ones. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will be seeing you shortly for more content. We will continue to update on the case for Mica Miller as we are Mica's voice. I'm Chelsea J. Be blessed, loved ones.